to pay bills, pay aging. Because I see different practices in my country.
So I think, because I set up a couple operations in Vietnam. So 2006, when I went there with the Honheim chairman to look at an investment, we went to Ho Chi Minh City first. And we had a dinner with the mayor at the time. And 8 minutes into the dinner, he made a toast, drank a cup of wine, and his face literally fell into the food, and then they carried him out. So the boss was like, don't invest one NT here. We went to Hanoi the next day, met with the president of the country at that time. He told us, don't invest money in Ho Chi Minh. It's overinvested. And as you know, and some of your colleagues may know, the demographic in Vietnam is very different than most Asian countries. So Taiwan, if you look at Taipei, general area, and here, it's over 40% of the population. In Vietnam at that time, I don't know precisely today, it was only about 18.5%, the two large cities. So you have to look at that and go, without a large population base there, if you take a lot of companies at the same time, and you give everybody a tax holiday, things are going to go wrong. So I went back 2 weeks ago, I was surprised, because at that time they told us they're building the MRT system, something. It's like 2 lines of like 50 kilometers, right? So it really hasn't taken off. And the sites they showed us, you could smell the pavement. The road was just paved yesterday. And they promised us like intermodal, so a train connected to a port. You couldn't find a train within 50 kilometers of the site, right? So it eventually caught up, but some of the companies there, I saw that the practices for overtime, because the salaries have gone up so much and people are still leaving, they try to use overtime to, get more money into the people's pocket. Because the company's not 100% free to change the minimum wage, but too high that the government also complains, right? Because they have to put balance between the foreign companies and the local companies, right? So it's very, I think, complicated there right now. But compared to West Taiwan, the government is, while they have less experience with free trade zones and planned economies, they're much more focused on the people's welfare and very focused on avoiding a big wealth gap problem in the country. So I think that will sort itself out, because as time goes by, it's only more higher value-added products will go there, and you start to see more R&D centers being moved there. So there's more high-level engineering jobs. And you also see the service economy starting to grow very fast. As the people's disposable income goes up, you see a lot more restaurants and entertainment options for people. And your government doesn't use public hangings and stuff as population control like they do in China. The environmental laws are extremely strict. In fact, even in Ho Chi Minh City, the investment, it has to control environmental approvals to control that, the capital. The local authorities in Ho Chi Minh can't approve our EPA equivalent, testings and approvals. It all comes from the central government. So you have to, like I said, think globally, act locally. So I saw a lot of knee-jerk temporary reactions to the shortage of workers and the high turnover rate. Any other questions? Mr. Accountability.
You mentioned one of your tasks in this episode is to decide a 10 years plan for them. I was just wondering how you managed to see many different departments there with different domain knowledge and then decide just 1 year. You have to study a lot of things, or you have special methodology to do that?
Good question. So I was born early, so I think the doctor tried pushing me back in and maybe scrambled my brain a little bit, so my thought process is, how to say, For some areas I can do deep dive, but my general thought process is horizontal, not vertical. So multitasking, you can have attention deficit over compulsive and some brain damage from the doctor trying to push you back in, and it turns out that for certain skills it's very advantageous. So that's why when we talk about diversity, it's not, I need this many females, that many males, this many. It's really diversity of thought, right, and diversity of experience. And growing up overseas and seeing a textbook where 3,000 people were killed, murdered in the daytime, and 300,000 were murdered at nighttime. The critical thinking skills get developed very early, right? That's why I mentioned the critical thinking is probably, many people have told me I'm very good at that. And it also could be, it's a life experience. So you study medicine and you study economics. One very detailed, one very theoretical. So it kind of forces, the left side of the brain, the right side of the brain. But it gives you a thought process when you look at something the first time, how to make certain assumptions and be directionally correct. That and having no fear. And, I was looking for a job when I found this one, they fired me, I'll find another one if I need it. Great question. So there's ways to be. The key is always try to be the smartest person in the room, but don't do it by being locked in the prison. Because that one's easy, right? You just you commit a heinous crime and then occupy yourself in a prison. Now you're the smartest person in the room, but you can't give much back to society in that case, right?
You're smart person in the room, but the person writing this book is in jail right now. So you also have to be very careful.
Hopefully that's more valuable than a free cookie. No guarantees in life, right? So what do you think about the solution for the engineer? Moving them to field service.
I think moving them to facilities actually can contain some risk, because actually if someone wants to be a field service person, it means they have to also have a good communication and the skill as well, because they have to work with the customer.
So it's a 3-year assignment. It's a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
And it turns out that by accepting what he had done and wanting to get better, he actually changed the minds of the rest of the R&D team for me, right? For that case, no problem. If you do that, there's your bonus and more.
Yeah, I have some candidates that already moved from the R&D engineer, they moved to business engineer, and then they become sales and become sales director. So I think it's for some for people who consider it's a learning opportunity, they can have a very good switch, career switch in their lifelong career.
So just like the dual career path, as long as each function you can achieve the same level, status, authority, title, money, whatever, benefits, it's not an issue, right? It's not like a dumping ground or a downgrade, right? So to your question earlier, that's how you train people to think horizontally, right? Because complex solutions normally aren't a single mode solution, right? You need a risk managed and variable plan to mitigate, right? And that's why the complexity reduction plan is so important. Because if I can simplify the issue, the best example I can think of is multiple choice test. If I eliminate answers that can't be correct, either mathematically or from my experience, and I have to guess, if I'm guessing 1 out of 3 instead of 1 out of 6, double my chances of getting the right answer. I have no idea what the right answer is, but at least I know these can't possibly be correct. And my guess is more accurate, right? Now, would I use that choosing a spouse? I'd find another technique, right? But for for problems, general problem solving, not bad, right? Because the multiple choice test, you don't know the answer and you have a time limitation. So I need to compromise something, right? Any other
Any
questions?
question?
Need one question from every passport.
You can try a European passport.